TV remains the most lucrative and effective advertising medium, but marketers don't believe it. We've arranged for a chat through this as a hypothesis and are joined by experts who are going to dig into it. Stuart from media planning agency Mostly Media, Daisy from PR and digital agency Down at the Social, and Angharad, business manager at ITV, join me representing JonesMillbank as a production company. So let's get into it. I was at a talk by Mark Ritson recently, and Ritson argues that advertising which includes emotion, fluency, and runs longer basically delivers much higher profitability, right? In fact, he was saying it was like 4 times higher profitability. So given that, how do you guys all see the role of TV advertising in building emotional, fluency-rich brand assets today?
It almost speaks to the obvious, that something is powerful and emotional will land, rather than something that is bare nuts and bolts. So, and the longevity, you can't build a brand in a month. Brands take years and years and years to build. People buy stories, and TV advertising is the ultimate storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's what we say as well as a broadcaster. And the fact that people buy into that emotional storytelling medium is never not been true. It's still true. I think perhaps there's a perception of it has changed slightly in recent times, and that's probably what we need to address.
Daisy, do you think there's anything in that, like hesitation, maybe in other mediums that support TV advertising as well, to just run them for a very short amount of time and then move on?
Yeah, the other thing that Ritson always says is only marketeers get bored, not consumers. And it's so true, and you can't build that emotional connection in 6 months. But if actually all that evidence is there that if you put something on for 2-3 years, then people really buy into it.
So from your vantage points then, what are the biggest obstacles in executing campaigns with those attributes, the emotion, the fluency, the longevity?
Marketing people. The more serious answer is people that don't understand their brand enough and their brand's audience to put the time, the effort into getting it right. And if you put all that time and effort in and you get it wrong, you've wasted quite a lot of time and money, haven't you? That's kind of why internet, digital, Facebook advertising is so easy, because if you get it wrong, you just do another one. Whereas with a TV ad, you've been through all the checks, you've spent all the time, and if you've got it wrong, you've wasted it.
I was going to say, one of the other obstacles I think we find as broadcasters is the perception, though, that it's difficult and it's hard to get into television, and that it's costly. And people are often surprised how much support there is out there throughout the whole process to get a new advertiser on board, from making an advert at relatively low cost, right through to understanding the whole process. It's actually a lot easier than people think it is.
The fundamental difficulty is what you're expecting it to do. And in the modern marketeer's mind, they're all driven, rightly or wrongly, towards a short-term effect. And that's been driven by 10, 15 years worth of Google and Facebook with wonderful dashboards and analytics. And we're all being driven towards an analytics world. But the big brands still go to TV. So when Facebook has a crisis, they go to TV. They don't tell you about it on Facebook. They go to TV to water down their crisis.
I think some of that comes to what you were saying as well about the fear or the assumption that, fine, bigger brands, but not me as a smaller brand. And what we found from a production perspective is that the obstacle then is that they want this big thing that they're trying to do, which is big, it is scary, and it's new for them, to do too much. Yeah. So they want to talk about every single thing they possibly have, every pillar, every value that the business has that obviously their audience don't necessarily care about, rather than concentrating on one single clear message that's going to translate. One thing perhaps to move on as well is the changing viewing habits as well. So let's explore maybe some of the changing viewing habits. And I've got a few points here just as reference to start us off on as well, some figures. So among UK 16 to 24-year-olds, only 48% watched broadcast TV in an average week in 2023, and that's down from 76% in 2018. Under 30s, of those who watch live TV, many watch for less than 30 minutes, while the 50 to 65 age bracket, 63% of them watch TV for more than 3 hours a day. With those in mind, how do you value TV as part of a media plan today? And where does it deliver reach that maybe others don't?
It's always been relatively hard to reach the younger audience, and it is undeniably getting harder. But when I first started in this career, it was still very expensive to reach a 24-year-old because they were at the pub. They might not be at the pub anymore; they're probably on their phone. This has long been an issue where how do you get these people? My current bugbear is the broadcasters. Sorry, Harry, are spending a lot of time on tech and maybe forgetting that it's content. You know, John and Sue sat at home in Birmingham don't care about your tech stack. They don't care about how many ads can be inserted into this and that. What they care about is Traitors or Love Island. That's what they care about. And when ITV land those wonderful, wonderful crime dramas or Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, 15 million people will tune in and they will watch it. And that will include young people as well. So Love Island proves every year that young people, if you give them the content they want, they will watch it. If you don't, they won't.
It's always been harder to capture the younger audiences. But I think one of Mark Ritson's stats actually says that although TV's huge, it's reaching like 85% of the population. But with the younger audiences, yes, those figures are smaller, but apparently still over half of the audiovisual advertising they will see in a day is still on television. I think that's where we start to get into how do we actually define TV these days? Are we talking about traditional broadcast linear or everything that's on the big screen in the living room? Which, to me and to the viewer, it is all TV, isn't it,
Yeah.
I suppose?
Well, my definition is almost whether it's got to go through Clearcast. That's TV. Like, you know, if it's been kind of treated like a traditional advert,
Yeah.
or if you can just whack it up.
And I think just whack it up maybe speaks a lot to the level of the content.
I think there is that though. I think like we work with a lot of challenger brands, and challenger brands, you know, will push boundaries kind of by definition, and therefore they will almost certainly at least trial in digital first. If they're then using TV as well, they'll, you know, if they're doing it properly, they'll build a bit of evidence as to what's going to work first.
So how are we adapting that definition of TV then?
For me, there's if it ends up on the big screen in your room, it's TV. So we have linear TV. Then you step into the world of Amazon, Netflix, Disney, Paramount, and the quality of content with those platforms is undeniably brilliant. And I think they go back to my point of, if you put great content out, people will follow you. Then we have CTV, which goes to the world of Samsung ads, Roku, and fast channels, where the content is less, but it's more of a digital buy. Mm-hmm. And brands have to understand where they sit in this, where they're comfortable. And most brands we work with still want to use TV for great content.
I think that there's a lot about this trade-off between the audience and the ads, that people accept advertising on ITV because
it's consensual.
Because they're not paying for it, and we equally want the experience to be nice for the viewer, so that, you know, the breaks feel like you're watching an old-fashioned linear TV a break, I suppose.
And then you fast forward to YouTube, and there is absolutely no tacit agreement that you're going to put an ad up in the 2-minute thing that I was going to watch.
Yeah.
And that creates negativity towards what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I think that tacit approval and that tacit agreement between broadcaster and is mightily powerful.
And maybe that does give us a good point to focus on production a little bit more here. We know creative, we know production need to evolve to make TV advertising still work. We face shorter attention spans, multi-device, big screen versus mobile, and we need to deliver now across all platforms. So given the need for emotion and fluency and longevity, how does the creative brief for a TV-led campaign differ, or maybe need to differ, when we also know the campaign is going to have to live across digital platforms and formats as well? For us, it's thinking about the creative that's going to serve those, thinking about the different cuts that will be appropriate. So if we're thinking about, okay, we've got our 30-second TVC piece, but is that then going to translate exactly into the YouTube piece? No, because the pre-roll, we know we've got 5 seconds. Now, I'm not saying that the brands, broad brush, are naive, but saying cut downs without thinking about understanding the nuances of those platforms and how you're going to show up on them, how people expect you to show up on them, is a problem, and it is a challenge. And so actually our creative teams are starting to move it the other way around. So yes, we might be asked for a hero asset, but we'll start the other way around. We'll start building the cuts first, and we'll move that up towards the hero asset. And that helps to inform what that is to be appropriate. And that tends to be more budget effective as well.
Yeah, it has to work on every channel, and then also give you a long form and a short form, even for online as well. Now you've kind of got, but you can't tell a story in a short ad, but you can think about it from a totally different angle, yes. But yeah, very much, how is this going to work when we promote it through media? Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you would just make something and then go, oh, what can we do with this to get it on here? Mm-hmm. And that just won't work now because, like you say, you need to get people's attention right at the beginning.
It's thinking not about I need to create or I'm going to or I intend to create a TV ad. It's I intend to create a campaign.
Yes.
And it's about value across that,
yes.
Right? So it's about all of us, I suppose, with our different viewpoints here, helping a client to fill that briefing document out well, thinking about the value.
Because I'll admit, as media people, we need a 6, 12, 10, 30... No, you can't have a 13 on ITV, all these second lengths, and then we pass it over. But it is crucially important. It used to be a TV ad. I'll do a TV ad, but I don't think the world works like that.
No.
The world is creating content for your brand. Mm.
We hear new platforms, we hear new usage, we hear different types of production process. Okay, it needs to be more user-generated, it needs to be more this. Is there an actual answer to
I don't think
that?
There is, no. I think it's different for every brand, every audience, every channel. I think it is just being really clear what your audiences are, what your channels are, and then mapping it first. But you'd be silly not to be putting things on TikTok if you put them on the TV as well, aren't you?
Is there an answer to balancing big screen impact with multi-platform requirements?
You have to do it.
Yeah. But it builds excitement as well. Paddy Power have launched an ad this week with all their different celebrities that they work with, all in a casino. And they've dropped that everywhere, from LinkedIn to TikTok to Instagram, all in different kind of teasers. And they all work independently, but then that's created the excitement that everybody wants to see the ad. And then they go and find it on YouTube and watch the whole thing. And that in itself is a strategy, I think, that you can really use to your advantage and drive media to it. And
that exact campaign is supported by a TV campaign as well. And I was about to say about the use of celebrity in advertising. From our perspective, we've done work on bespoke partnerships that feature ITV talent. And I think those are some of the richest ads that we make, and they obviously are more engaging for the viewer. That's another really big thing when you're trying to sort of establish the story.
And the reality is, the people that we are selling to love these people.
Yeah.
They love everything about them. We might not love them, but they love everything about them. And that's really, really important. It's not about us. It's about, the whole thing is about the audience. So we need to go where the audience is, and then we overlayer with all the other amazing social assets and social routes. And then let's not forget, we have radio and we have outdoor, and the best campaigns utilise everything.
A lot of the advertising that works well, we know it's got an air of mystique about it, or an aspirational quality. And so if we connect, and the audience know this, of course, if we're connecting that together with where they wanted to go lifestyle-wise or otherwise, it will work. It will drive that intrigue. And actually looking at it from a social media platform perspective as well, there's a lot more of that starting to happen.
Well, you only have to look at Sky Sports. Their pundits are actually just fellas off YouTube who've never played the game. It's
they have trust.
But they have trust with their audience.
TV obviously built the trust that we have in a lot of those celebrities in the first place. It's kind of gone
Olivia
full
Attwood's a
circle.
great example of that.
Yeah, or the GC.
Or the GC, of course.
You know, even Daddy Dyer, I guess. But like that's where it all started, and that's how kind of we built those relationships with those people, because they were in our living rooms and we thought they were our friends.
Mm-hmm.
Let's wrap up by looking forward, shall we? How can TV advertising become better integrated into the full funnel marketing mix? That's one part of it. And maybe what measurement and attribution models are still missing or under leveraged in this place as well?
I think it's about accessibility for me. I think it's about that kind of conversation we've had about perception, and people do still, you know, even quite experienced marketeers or business owners still think that TV is quite scary and quite hard to engage with. And we know it's not now. And we know that there's more kind of do-it-yourself platforms. And we know that there's AdSmart and all these different kind of ways to dip your toe in the water. And us all just hammering home that actually this is about brand and it's about building your connection with your customers.
I think as broadcasters, we're actually, at this very moment in time, in fact, very conscious of all the things you've just sort of said, because going forward, I think the big phrase at the moment is we're trying to give TV the measurement it deserves, because we in TV all know how great TV is, but we are conscious of needing to follow up with evidence, I suppose. We've already started to get into measurement in quite a big way, at all the broadcasters again, because we want to be able to show we can do both. You know, we do mass reach, we are the home of those wonderful, emotional, engaging moments, but we can also prove it works, and that's definitely where we're all at right now.
I think the other thing about data is it should be more on the responsibility of the brand to know where they sit anyway, and to do that measurement themselves. You know, measuring before and after your brand salience, looking at your social share of voice, looking at all the metrics that talk about the success of your brand, and then can I attribute that to these different things I've done in the marketing mix?
But there was an interesting thing that someone, I can't remember whether I read it or whether someone told me this, but it was from the marketing director from Aston Martin, and they said that the longevity thing is really interesting for them, especially premium products. I guess that's a big one, but they sell the car when the 7-year-old puts the poster on their wall, but they don't buy it until they're 60.
Yeah.
And there's a really interesting thought of, okay, so they need to be on and they need to maintain the brand integrity all the way through that journey from that person buying that car. They bought it in their mind and in their heart a long time ago, but they won't actually own it until then. And thinking, they thought everything across that marketing mix, the full funnel, needed to play out through that journey. And that will translate in different ways to a lot of other products, I'm sure, and services. But that one stuck in my head. It's a really interesting one.
My big worry is we'll just go lowest common denominator because that worked on Facebook.
But that will happen. And actually, we discuss this a lot as a production company. We talk about AI. Everyone's talking about AI. But the kind of cream that will float to the top idea of proper storytelling with real integrity, with understanding of emotion and audience, is the thing that will change. And so our biggest challenge in creative is, one, convincing brands to put their head above the parapet a little bit and do something disruptive, do something that actually gives them uniqueness and shows that off, and be brave enough to say it. And to put it in a creative form that does cut through that noise. And that is the biggest challenge that we have every single day, with slightly tighter budgets every single time, with wanting more and more assets every single time. But that's.
But what will happen if we don't get to that stage and we do get to the AI-driven stage is the blame will be on the medium.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And the blame will not be on, I spent $2,000 because my son was really good at AI and he could create this image thing for me. And so what will happen is TV didn't work, whereas my Facebook did work. So the money comes out of TV into Facebook. So then ITV, Sky, Channel 4, even Amazon and Netflix won't have the money to put into the programmes, and it's an ever-decreasing circle.
Maybe just to round up, while we're on futuristic thinking, the next 3 to 5 years then, what developments do you guys think, just from your own points of vantage, will do you think most impact how brands use TV advertising?
I give this a lot of thought because it's going to shape our agency in the next 5 to 10 years. I think our digital team and our AV teams will be the same team. With the advances in technology and how we stream, everybody will be consuming video content, and I think there'll just be a meeting in the middle.
100% agree, and that's how when people talk about TV now. It's always a little bit frustrating because we are, to my mind, digital as well, because we're a streamer as well. And it's really how do we make it more accessible to everyone, make everyone aware of that, give brands security and reassurance in the form of measurement and outcomes.
From my point of view, I think, again, it's just across all marketing, that kind of siloed department approach is just not practical anymore, from production to SEO to social media to what the people that will win are the people that can tell really good, do the storytelling bit, which is why also every marketing agency in the world says they're a storyteller now, rather than a PR agency but it'll come from the ideas, and then it will just be a case of who can facilitate this and where do we put it.
What do you guys think of the brands as broadcasters argument?
It's really hard to be a broadcaster.
It is,
It costs an awful lot of money to become a broadcaster, and you guys do your
ad-funded
ad-funded
programming, Studio,
which is really great, right? The legacy broadcasters are having to fight off every other large American corp, and now the large American corps are all merging, and they're all merging their platforms together. So the streaming gold rush has ceased, and they're now merging it all together. And essentially what we're going to have is the equivalent of 10 channels that we used to have in the olden days, but now they'll be called Netflix and Amazon and Disney and ITV and Sky.
I was going to say, Marks and Spencer's is the one example I can think of that do it well. And I think they're on their 3rd series of Cooking with the Stars. Yeah. That one is a great example.
That's almost a programme maker. It's not a broadcaster.
Yeah, it's a programme maker.
Well, that's the difference as well, isn't it? I think about programmes like Bake Off, right? Same could be applied there. John Lewis and Partners, all the ovens and fridges, etc. And then the Waitrose part of that provides the food. That's an ideal setup. But whether that translates to much more, you look at the YouTube channels, Channel 4, for example, their own YouTube series that they create, shorter pieces. Again, it can get to more niche and nuanced audiences, I think, which is interesting. But again, program makers versus broadcaster is quite key.
There's a difference as well around, like, if you've got key messaging that you need to get out, or if it's needs must, like Paddy Power, who are restricted on where they can put their content and who they can show it to. But actually, if you're a mainstream brand, the reason you go to TV is reach, is to get in front of as many people as possible, and you're not going to do that through your own channels.
Oh, guys, thank you so much. That's all been really interesting and probably opened up a whole raft of questions now that we want to get into a bit more. But Angharad, thank you. Stu, Daisy, really appreciate it, and thanks for watching.